Thursday, August 7th. Oh my God, a few NFL preseason games tonight. We're getting closer and closer, and it's great to have you all back here to Damon Bruce Plus, brought to you by Ike Sandwiches. That is our good friend right there, Sam Batesh, and we're double dipping again this week, Sammy.
Yes,
how are you,
pal? How great is this, by the way? The fact that we get to do this with yesterday, we're hanging out with Larry. By the way, before I ended up at Dodger Stadium for Shohei, of course, and we'll get into that, yes, a little bit. But so much fun when you and I twice a week. I mean, we obviously used to live together, so there's that, but this is maybe the next best thing. This is the next best thing.
I think we actually talk for longer periods of time here than when we were actually living together.
You're right. It was more about the Trader Joe's list back then. Yeah, exactly. That's okay. But this is just as beautiful, and to do it twice every week, I'm all for it. I'm all for it, Damon. This is the highlight of my week. I told you, Thursdays are now the highlight of my week.
Well, I feel the same way. I really do, man. It's always great to see you. And I'll tell you what, to dot the highlight of your week with something very special right now, my good friend Ike is running something very, very special. Go online, order from Ike's online, use promo code BOGO50, BOGO 50, buy one, get one for 50% off now until Sunday. It is National Sandwich Month, and my man Ike is all over it, feeding the people. Get yourself to Ike's. If you're not around in Ike's, boy, I hope you are soon. And as always, sign up for that Love Rewards program. Earn your way towards free sandwiches, chips and drinks, and all that good stuff. My man Ike has got something delicious for you. And right now, again, participating Ike's, online only, BOGO 50, buy one, get a second sandwich of equal or lesser value for 50% off. Dubliner. You go ahead and you tie one on at the Dubliner West Portal. You'll be happy that you did, because Muni picks you up and drops you off right out front. You don't need to worry about driving or anything like that. And oh, by the way, the way that the Giants have been playing lately, they trade everyone and now they're winning. That'll cause a man to drink. We got preseason football. You need to enjoy some beers as you're watching third stringers. So there you go. Head to the Dubliner West Portal, and we thank our sponsors. We thank all of you for being here. We thank you right now for hitting like,
please do,
and subscribe on both of our channels. Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam. Go there, drop a like and a subscribe for Sammy. Do so here as well. And again, it's great to see everyone again. I feel that we're really built, Sam, for today's show. You and I have been around the media world for a very long time, not just as observers, but as participants. I think you and I understand what these networks are doing, what they're trying to accomplish. And Awful Announcing had the headline that ESPN has just had its most important 24 to 48 hours maybe of all time, outside of the day the network launched, the day that they launched the first ever Sports Center, the day that they acquired their first ever NFL rights to start doing Sunday Night Football, which they did with Mike Patrick all those years ago.
I actually love that broadcast. I love the Theismann and Mike Patrick. Those were days, that's when you and I were enjoying Sunday Night Football quite a lot. I love those days.
ESPN, as everyone now knows, right? Everyone knows this, okay? ESPN is acquiring NFL Network and other National Football League media rights assets, most importantly, the RedZone channel. Now, Roger Goodell has already had to do interviews, Sammy, saying, assuring fans that ESPN will not screw up RedZone. ESPN president Jimmy Pitaro says the NFL's 10% stake in the network will not affect its coverage of the league. We'll get into capital J journalism a little bit later. In an interview with Richard Deitch of The Athletic, he also indicated that ESPN does not plan to make major changes to NFL Network. And the question that everybody is now asking, and I think why a lot of people clicked on today's thumbnail to hear us talking about it, is because everyone is worried that ESPN will somehow ruin RedZone. That's what people care about. All the other stuff, the Inside Edge, your fantasy shows, and all of that, that I think will have ESPN's fingerprints all over it, and probably quickly.
Okay, let's jump into RedZone if you want first.
Well,
and then a bigger picture. Tell me where you want to go. There's a RedZone piece, and then there's the overall what this agreement means and all of that. And you're right. By the way, in the description today, I described this as experienced figures within the sports entertainment world. I mean, that's what we are, radio and TV. But I mean, sports entertainment, you and I, we're talking, and again, I don't want to age us. I'll just say we are seasoned, as they say. We are seasoned.
We are seasoned.
We'll leave it at that. We are the crafty lefty.
We're not necessarily really old, but we are looking for handrails on stairs. Okay, you got to look for a handrail. Okay, so here's how ESPN will ruin RedZone. Are you ready, America? Are you ready? They won't.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Guess what? You might have problems with ESPN that are legitimate and well-founded. You might not like a certain hosts that have too much exposure, overexposure. You might not like a lot of decisions that ESPN has made. But having said all of that, they're going to put their smartest and their best on this one, and their smartest and their best are going to realize that we can't shake this very hard and change it and have anybody happy with us. RedZone instantly becomes the most important property that the network owns, basically. It's more important than College Game Day. It's more important than their takeover of Inside the NBA. It's more important than First Take or anything that Stephen A. Smith will ever say. It's more important than Pat McAfee. This is now probably the single most important property ESPN has, and they're going to go way, way, way out of their way to not screw it up.
It should remain as it is, except let me just say one thing. I'd have to. He's a tremendous friend of mine. He's one of my best friends. He's a good friend of yours. Can I at least just give credit to Andrew Siciliano and Eric Shanks, who is running things at Fox Sports? But
Eric Shanks went to Indiana University, by the way, so I just want to throw that out there. And Siciliano is, look, I think Scott Hansen's good at the job. I thought Siciliano was great at the job.
Thank you. And you said what I don't even have to. I just want to give credit to Siciliano, Shanks, and David Hill, because one day, decades ago, they decided, could we take a chance and do something that we're seeing in Europe? And they're doing this with, I believe it was actually happening it was a little bit of soccer. It was even rugby. They were taking people around to different matches and whatnot. And I remember the day that Andrew said to me, yeah, we're trying something. I'm going to go in the room, and they just want to see if we can take people to different football games and try it out. They did it. They did it first. It was incredible. It changed, as I titled this thumbnail, it changed the way we watch television forever. It certainly changed the way we watch football, but it changed the way we watch sports, because frankly, when you're watching other sports now, you're thinking, wouldn't this be easier if I could enjoy it the way I do my RedZone, to just have it consumed for me? I mean, it's essentially, I hate to make this analogy, but actually I love to. You ever see a bird feed its baby? The mama bird puts the food in its mouth, chews it up, and then vomits it into the baby's mouth. But ultimately what it's doing is it's taking the food and saying, I'm going to make this easier for you. And that's what RedZone ultimately did for all of us. And I just want to credit Andrew for really giving birth to it. Yes, Hansen, it is fine now, because ultimately the NFL Network just decided, wait, we need to give this to people who aren't DirecTV subscribers. That's how this got born into two different ones anyway. DirecTV had it. Those that didn't have DirecTV wanted it. So NFL Network decided to put it on so people that just got cable instead of DirecTV could also have a version, period. End of that story. Nobody cares really, but there were two. Now there's one. And ESPN shouldn't touch this, except, frankly, I'll just say it. I mean, Andrew doing it, he's the best at it. I'll just say,
I would bring back Siciliano.
We don't need to, I don't want to pound that necessarily. I don't even know if Andrew's thinking that, really. Andrew's got an amazing life and an amazing setup, and he's got a dream job in so many other ways. But,
he would walk away from all of it to go back and be the RedZone. Of course he would.
It's there. And look, RedZone is perfect because it's tied to a perfect product. And I would actually say, you know how I feel about Thursday Night Football. I love that all of football was really Sunday with just a trickle on Monday. Thursday takes a little bit of the vinegar out of this for me, because I loved when Sunday had almost everything, and that had to be consumed for you in the way that RedZone did it. Now you're getting your Thursday standalone, so you don't need help there. You're getting your Monday standalone. You don't need help there. You're getting your Sunday night standalone. You don't need help there. But from 10 a.m. West Coast through 4:45 West Coast, I needed help. And that's what RedZone provided. And I remember for a while, Damon, because remember, you and I were we were one of the first with this package. In 1999, I got a dish that I had hanging out my window because they wouldn't give us the permission to put it on top of the building. So I had to have it hanging outside of my window when we lived together. And we watched football on Sundays in this way.
Obscured Sammy's view of Alcatraz and the Golden Gate Bridge, but he's like, I don't care. I don't need a view. I need RedZone.
This is what I need is red. And back then it wasn't RedZone. Remember, we were creating our own RedZone. So there I was with the remote, just Oh my God, what's happening? We'd have our app out to tell us where teams were, and then we were just scrolling through as fast as we could.
We had fast thumbs. That's all.
That was it. And RedZone changed that. And in a way, I also thought for a while, wow, RedZone, because I put, you know me, I have 4 televisions in my living room. So I sort of was creating my own RedZone center where I didn't even need the help. So sometimes I felt like I was being lazy. If I let Andrew walk me through a Sunday, I wanted to do it myself, show people, wait, look, the game's just turned. Look to your left. There it is. Look to your right. But RedZone made it easy for people to go watch their sons play soccer and come back home and feel like they sat on the couch for 5 or 6 hours when they hadn't. You know, you could record RedZone, come back, fast forward, and see everything. And it was as if your brain was just downloading what happened. So ESPN, at least at first, will, as you said, and that's the quote from Pitaro, they're going to take this thing and just keep it rolling. I'm sure a number of people that are currently working on RedZone will now be working on it for them, and it will look much like it will probably be just available in more places. That's likely what will happen here, Damon. It will just be available in slightly different ways where everyone can get a hand on it. That's probably it.
The one thing that I would do, you might have a problem with ESPN, but I don't think your problems are with like ESPN graphics. I think they do a pretty good job with graphics. And what I want is less negative space framing the game and fill out the TV with nothing but football. I don't need red barriers in between the two games. I understand that this game is not happening on top of the other game. Like, you don't need to delineate we're in 4 different places here. I get it. I think we all get it. I'd like them to use the real estate of the television screen better than RedZone actually does. Maybe they'll put a smart person on that and they'll figure out. But I really think that ESPN understands what fans want from their RedZone. And what fans want is just football, no bullshit. So we're not going to have Pat McAfee. They're not going to have Kendrick Perkins on. They're not going to have Stephen A. Smith all of a sudden, becoming a part of it.
Although you bring up a good point. Let me say this. You bring up an interesting point. Now, first, let me make my ultimate statement. You mentioned the 4-box. I mean, Andrew would love to be here to show the amount of text that I would give him on a Sunday. Don't put 4 games on the screen. I 2 games, yes, maybe for what screen is okay. I just would rather stick in the moment, because RedZone was constantly taking you to another moment, because if there was action, Andrew was fierce about it. If it was happening live, he wanted to get it before the score happened. He never wanted to have to say this happened seconds ago. He always wanted to get it before it happened. So the producers did a great job of getting in his ear and helping him get to something if it was about to happen. But that meant sometimes you're in a moment, you're feeling like a drive is happening, and then you would be your screen would now be compromised to be smaller, what you were concentrating on, because something in Buffalo is now happening instead. So I used to hate it because, like you said, the real estate of the screen is the most important. And if you're taking something that is on my 70 inches and now putting it in half, that's obviously 35. Now it's in 4s. I mean, it's taking.
By the way, you can't. No one can say any number in front of the word inches without me thinking of the Gary Radnich drop. Yes.
It's so true. And I have a friend, by the way, Aaron Larsoul, says there are 2 things in life, I won't tell you the second one, that you never go smaller with. And a television is really, it's on that list. Right. He just says, no one's ever in the store like, we need a smaller television. It's always
you never get that TV back home and go, wish it was smaller.
Just wish it was smaller it's a little too big for the room. Nobody says that. They just, at that point, they're blowing out the room or they're pushing the couch back like that. That's just the way we do it. So that being said, but your point about McAfee, Stephen A. Smith, and anybody else, remember what Monday Night Football has done, and they have won Emmys for this. The Manning cast is a way that you can consume Monday Night Football. You don't have to, but you can. There is an alternate stream. I could see a world, and hey, you know what? Give me credit if this ends up happening, or let me come in and produce it and host it, What about an alternate Red Zone feed with people that are watching the games with you, that are a more casual version? So in other words, you're seeing it's not, you're not hearing play-by-play of it. You're hearing their conversation. Wow, this is happening there. I can't believe this is about to happen. Yes.
You're watching someone watch Red Zone.
Essentially, but people that you really respect from a football standpoint. I would try to keep it like, that'll be the key to the whole thing, is who do you have on that panel? And panel's probably too big a word. I'd say maybe 2 people is where you want to keep it. That could be interesting. And by the way, how about this, Damon? You know, it would be really, I can't believe I'm giving them all these great ideas. There's 2 ways to do it, by the way. Could you have a channel for Red Zone that is committed to fantasy, and then one that is committed to betting?
There's another way. There's more ways.
How about that? So now you've got your sort of live bets that are being cashed with people that understand that you may have that ticket or not, right? Or a late cover in a game, and they're taking it from that standpoint. And then from a fantasy standpoint, of course, taking you through. Now that would require that you're not taking the exact feed, though. Now this is getting a little in the weeds, but I want to explain something. Monday Night Football with the Manning cast is the exact feed, the same feed that Buck and Aikman are on. The Mannings are watching.
Right.
This is not separate cameras.
You need a second truck.
What I'm talking about would require likely a second truck, because if you're doing fantasy, you would set up beforehand, here's the lineup we're following today.
Right.
And now you would be following. In other words, everything Tyreek Hill did on the field would matter, not just when he's in the red zone. And you would want to get there for that. And then from a betting standpoint, if you said we're following Joe Burrow's over under on passing yards today, then you would want to now be able to go to that game at any time in a different way, whether it's in the red zone or not. But that's, by the way, that's the future.
How about this is ESPN is now in its 3rd or 4th year of Red Zone. That's when those ideas, I think, are going to start blooming.
Yes.
But I think they're just going to try to play it down the middle of the fairway in the first few seasons that they've acquired this, rightfully so. Again, you don't want people outraged at the product or what's different about it. You don't want to be the company that ruined everyone's NFL Sunday.
This is massaging it, right? You're going to, first, it's the same. I just have it available now via my ESPN streaming or cable or wherever I consume ESPN now. I'm just getting Red Zone in that way. And that's, of course, talking to millions and potentially, billions of eyeballs here. So that's the first thing. Just give it to them. Don't change it. And then over time, now that everyone's comfortable that it's here, take advantage of the personalities that you've got and start to tie into what I think I just think I came up with the best idea. I really do. I didn't talk about this with you ahead of time, but I think the streams, Red Zone from a fantasy standpoint and Red Zone from a betting standpoint. Now we can all agree that Red Zone in many ways is for those people, right? I mean, obviously we know that, that Red Zone is popular because from a fantasy standpoint, you're trying to see if your guys are getting in the end zone.
I think you can kind of have like a fantasy gambling thing. Like that could almost be the same. Fantasy and gambling are just, it's very close. Kind of the same way to talk
very
about.
Close. And of course, when you're talking DFS, I mean, I hate to get in the weeds here, but those that know it, I mean, daily fantasy is prop bets. Those are like the same exact thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
By the way, we got our first super of the day from Scotty D. Thank you, Scotty. Appreciate it. Red Zone always dies in late window games, partly because of fewer games and partly because Scott loses energy. Should be different. Host in a second window, but we must have Scott. I mean, I wouldn't want to give up the mic. If I'm Scott Hansen, you don't want to give up the mic to the
I've got a solution to this. So as Red Zone gains popularity, Damon, which it will, and of course ESPN is now going to be in the room for meetings about what to do with Red Zone. Mm-hmm. I could see a world in which the second window, so we're not talking Sunday Night Football, and we're not talking your 1 p.m. Eastern slate. We're talking about your 4:25 Eastern slate, which, by the way, Niners fans that are on this, your default game is that slot. Right. Niner games on a default are in this slot. So listen up here. This is important for the NFC West fans. I could see a world in which there's a little more balance between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. for exactly what this person's talking about. That Red Zone now has a fervor. So now you're basically programming games a little bit more for Red Zone eyeballs, which is to say, wow, my 1 p.m. is packed and I need Red Zone. And now my 4 p.m. is even too difficult to navigate because when there's 3 games at 4 p.m., I can navigate that without Red Zone, right? I
don't need Red Zone to get through that.
Exactly. But once you get to 5 games, it's a little too much for me. And you'll notice there are, and again, like I said, Thursday Night Football is the one that waters this down a little bit because now that's one less game on Sunday. But you'll notice now there's a lot of windows where the 4 p.m. is a little compromised. And there will be a concentration now on making sure that window has a fever where Red Zone needs to be in your veins.
So the NCAA doesn't run college football anymore. Networks do. And the NFL will find itself not really running the schedule anymore. Networks will, if they aren't already. By the way, there's also a little thought bubble released by Roger Goodell saying that this could be red zone for college. Now, I'll just tell you, there's a lot of conflicts of interest there that just, I think, will prevent that from happening, because there's no way Fox is going to give up any minutes of its huge big noon kickoff to be aired on ESPN. They're not going to allow ESPN to break into Ohio State, Texas for 8 minutes in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? It's just not.
Well, again,
that's going to happen.
But the massage on that, Damon, would be rev share. It would be basically, you now have a stake in how CFB Red Zone is doing, right? If all of a sudden all the networks were tied into that. In other words, if it was just an additional way to get eyeballs, everyone would see it differently. And so you could, if you could say the popularity of NFL games are no longer these standalone games, or no longer just the window of games, it's actually Red Zone. I mean, imagine that. Red Zone could be, let's think about a world in which people are not watching games the way you and I do. You and I sit down for a game. We get our coffee. I like to see a game breathe, right? We're into it. Most people want Red Zone. They just want to know, are my players about to score or not?
Right.
And if the world is headed in that direction, you're right about dictating this around Red Zone instead of the other way around. Instead of the games feeding Red Zone's going to feed and dictate your games.
I think there's a very strong chance of that being the new way that everything is consumed. First of all, the generations behind us are all losing attention span. They're not gaining it. So how do we put an NFL game into a 5-minute highlight package will be, the end game of all of this at some point.
The rollout at the end of Red Zone, by the way, they do a great job. The rollout at the end of End Zone is what a lot of people just want. Every touchdown from the day. Here's every touchdown in 2 minutes. Okay, great. I downloaded that, and I don't want to tell my wife, but I could have been at that brunch I could have been at that brunch and then consumed every touchdown and feel like I got it all. Instead, I sat here for 6 hours and watched this. Damon, let me know when you want to transition to one part of this, which is just the 10%.
Here we go, baby. I mean, okay. we are of the same mind. We're not just on the same damn mountain here. You and I are on the same ski run at this. We're going down this thing together. Here we go. So NFL gets a 10% equity stake in ESPN. Now let's just put all cards on the table. It is absolutely a conflict of interest. One does not cover oneself through the most critical lens possible. Having said all that, I think that every single existing NFL media partner, or, you're not partners, you're co-owners now. Okay, whatever. But there has been an awful lot of NFL ball washing done anyway. So I don't think it will change things that much. I'm not sure how much changes. There's a zero chance that ESPN is going to go after the NFL equivalent of the Epstein files, should something like that occur. I mean, they're going to be covering up the really bad stuff instead of digging into it. I do think that capital J journalism has, been dealt another blow here, replaced by lowercase j journalism.
That's okay. Yeah.
But that's all around uppercase B business. And I mean, folks, it's not just laid off afternoon drive radio hosts in San Francisco that are living through an evolving media landscape. It's the networks and leagues themselves. And they're all trying to figure this out. What do you think of that 10% equity stake? Are you worried about the real nuts and bolts of the game being covered with a lighter touch than before?
Here's how I saw that story. At first, I read the story, and I'm looking for the B word. Okay, billions. What is this? Right? What would this deal cost? Right? This is ESPN essentially getting more NFL. Okay, and anytime you're talking about slicing up the NFL pie, it's billions. Okay, so Amazon? Look at the Amazon deal, billions. Look, okay, ESPN. What did they pay when they got Monday Night Football in a playoff game? Billions.
Right.
Billions.
The word millions doesn't even get touched anymore. We just go straight to the B.
So I'm searching billions. Wait a second. There's not a B in this story. There's a P. %. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Let me walk everyone down this line. The number one brand in all of sports is the NFL. Are we all raising our hand? Like, yes,
there's nothing to even argue about. You want to bring up the Premier League or something like that, or some soccer. Maybe globally you got a point, but
let's just stay in the United States for now. Right. For now. And YouTube, you and I are huge internationally. You go to Tokyo, you're recognized. We get it. But for the United States, look at that. I love it. See, that is, I got to get there, by the way. You and I got to get there for Kyoto Brews for sure. So I would love for anyone here to challenge that. So we're all on the same page. NFL is the number one brand. So the number one brand in all of sports is this league that we love, that we talk about even when it's not happening. June, July, we don't give a shit. We're talking about the NFL and everyone's into it with us. The draft, again, preseason games are going to get huge numbers over the next 4 days. Okay, NFL is number one. So, all right. And then there's some people who are saying, man, I hate when ESPN does this. I don't like that. Jamie, you've had it. You've had conversations with people. People claim to not love ESPN for certain things. I mean, it's on everybody's bill.
Not like they used to.
Right. But people, so there are some people who claim that, ESPN's maybe not what it should be. Okay. The number one brand in all of sports. Now, ESPN does a deal to get more of the NFL. So what made sense to me, I'm looking for that. I see that P word percent. I'm like, all right, cool. All right. So what percent of the NFL did ESPN just buy? That's what my common sense brain says. All right. ESPN now has some stake in the NFL. I guess that would make sense.
Right.
Wait a second. ESPN didn't buy a percentage of the NFL. The NFL sought and received a percentage of ESPN. So I ask everyone again, what is the number one brand in all of sports? The NFL wants a piece of ESPN. Congratulations, the sports leader. Sure, place you know well, but for television and for rights and for streaming and everything else, ESPN, congratulations. This story by itself, you are the number one brand in all of sports, ESPN. You just surpassed the league wants 10% of you.
Not the other way around.
Not the other way around, which would have been and I guarantee you there are people watching us right now who are saying, wait a second, they're going to go back and read that story because the assumption was, okay, ESPN's got a stake in the NFL, 10% of the NFL. No. The NFL wants a stake of ESPN. That is a drop the mic. We won. That is staggering.
It is. Sorry, CBS Sports Network. Sorry, Fox, in a lot of ways. But here's the thing. ESPN has the infrastructure that the NFL needs, which is why they came after it. Massive, multiple branches of distribution. And look, I got to give it up to our good friend, my former boss, the guy who hired me at 95.7 The Game, Jason Barrett, who left to start his own media consulting company. And he was writing about this. And he said, ESPN is having an incredible week. After striking a deal with the NFL for ownership of NFL Network, RedZone, and NFL Fantasy in exchange for 10% equity stake in the network, ESPN has now secured a 5-year agreement with the WWE to bring the company's marquee live events to their brand forthcoming standalone streaming service in 2026. Next year, ESPN is launching their own Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Damon Bruce Plus. They're launching their own streaming direct-to-consumer service, and to get people to buy it, because I don't think anyone's paying $30 a month to watch First Take.
And say that again, it's $30. So that's, is Netflix $20 a month? I mean, this is pretty significant, right? Okay, so the $30 is pretty significant.
They will be delivering exclusive NFL content to that alone, that they'll be, I'm sure, even restricting from linear television. So you got to go there to get that.
I could see the Manning cast, right? I could see that if you have a standard, you're going to get the regular Monday Night Football. And if you want the Manning cast, you'd have to go there. I could see that for sure.
That also leaves them whatever is left of a television rating while you have a second screen going on. They're not splitting the baby in the middle.
Got it both.
To make it happen. Yeah. Under the agreement, ES will become the exclusive U.S. home for 10 of the WWE's top events, including WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series. Now, these things don't mean much to me, but to people out there, they mean an awful lot. Millions upon millions of eyeballs go to those events. And when those events are put somewhere exclusively that you now have to buy access to, that's how you're going to get people to buy your direct-to-consumer thing. It has been a huge 48 hours from ESPN. I don't think Awful Announcing is wrong with the headline saying from its equity deal with the NFL to its new relationship with wrestling to its direct-to-consumer launch, ESPN has never had a more important 24-hour period. Another reason why all this is happening is this that just came out too. Think about it. What does ESPN now have? It's got the NFL in a way that nobody else does.
Nobody has the NFL like this.
Shared with a few others, it's got an awful lot of NBA as well. So when everybody kind of giggled at the ratings that came out, ESPN playoff NBA games, NBA playoff games. I guess this isn't just ESPN. These are on TNT. These are other NBA television, whatever it was. NBA playoff games averaged across all of them 4.5 million viewers. The Hall of Fame game had nearly 7 million viewers for Trey Lance versus who is that other guy?
It was either Hendon Hooker. No, it was Kyle Allen. But yes. Yes.
So while people want to laugh at that, going, hey, wait a minute, ESPN's getting trucked here. Now ESPN has both. Like ESPN isn't going to be like measuring its NBA success against the NFL success because it has now got both.
They need more people in the take room. In the movie Casino, he says this is the most important room in the house where they're just counting the money as it's rolling in.
Count room.
That's the room that they need. ESPN's got to hire more people for that. Not necessarily more people for RedZone. They'll take care of that. They need more people to count the money that's about to roll in. I'm sorry. This is for anyone who claims not to like ESPN. I would say throw that opinion away. It's unnecessary because you're going to because you will be a hypocrite. You will be a hypocrite because to claim that you don't like ESPN, you are no longer able to be a sports fan without consuming some version of ESPN.
That's the thing.
You're a hypocrite. You must consume ESPN if you're a sports fan now in a way that we couldn't have said that at the beginning of this week, but we now can definitively say it.
What's hysterical is that all this fracturing of the cable and television linear network and structure that we remember from our, not just our childhood, but from 15 years ago.
It's not that long ago.
It all basically has come. It all came to a head because ESPN was charging more on every single cable bill than every single cable company. And that's what brought cable to its knees and started cord cutting. There are, I guess.
It's why NFL Network doesn't own NFL Network anymore, Damon. Think about this. There was a huge problem. NFL Network had a major issue for a long time with DirecTV and other cable providers because they couldn't figure out the number that they wanted to charge, and then they didn't want to have to charge people at home more, but the cable companies wanted to. And there was a standoff. NFL Network just didn't exist in people's homes for a while.
Right. And if you had you had cable, well, I don't watch ESPN. Tough titties. You're still giving us $12 a month for that alone.
You're getting it. And there will be a game. Just like, look, not that people don't have Netflix, but for NFL fans who didn't have Netflix, guess what? This year, you want to watch every game? You're going to need Netflix at some point. And that's what it comes down to. It's not about saying the day of the announcement, I'm going to go out and buy it. What happens is all of a sudden it's Sunday and there's a game, or Monday and there's a game that you don't have. And you're asking your buddy, hey, where are you watching this? And he says, oh, it's here on my ESPN. And they're like, what ESPN? Oh, I have to buy that. I need a login for that. And that's the day you sign up. And that's the day your life changes. Right. And your credit card just says, all right, we're going to absorb that now.
Hey, man, I wasn't going to subscribe to Peacock until they put the Indiana-Purdue basketball game on it. Then, I need Peacock, don't I?
And again, congrats to Ciliano for that. The Olympics, by the way, good luck enjoying and by the way, they did a RedZone for the Olympics, and it just won 2 Emmys, okay? And that's, guess what? A ton of people all of a sudden discovered Peacock because if they wanted to get the Olympics in the best way possible, that's where they had to go.
Do you remember when Barbieri got the gold, silver, and bronze package? I've spent all this money getting all these packages, and I don't like it, Tommy. All right, Scotty D coming in again. Scotty D the generous audience member today, the first up with the first super and the
Love
second.
that. Yes.
Remember George Michael Sports Machine? Oh, absolutely. Sunday nights in the 80s. That was the show that Sammy just envisioned. Yeah. He had an incredible wraparound show that was allowed to happen in a media world that will never, ever exist again. I mean,
because you're talking about one destination. And you know, in a way that just now it seems impossible, the amount of options people have. But as I said, ESPN is now in charge of many of those options, which is why this is so remarkable. So I just challenge anyone out there to not be a part of this. I think you just have to be on board. ESPN is now tied into the NFL. The NFL chose to take a piece of ESPN. And that's the NFL essentially saying, you've got this. You're actually potentially more powerful than we are. And it is going to revolutionize the way that we enjoy that sport. And I just want to, congrats to ESPN. I'd love to say anything else, but there's no point. It's just, this was a leveling to the other networks as far as I see it.
Go ahead, hit like and subscribe if you would, please, on both channels. Thank you very, very much. Siciliano and Sam, Damon Bruce Plus. Hey, we just went over 46,000 subscribers over here. Thank you all very much for joining us. Go give the same love to Sammy over on his channel too, please. Yes. Here is the thing, though. I got to say, have I ever been known for being nothing but sunshine? I've been pretty sunshiny about this controversial topic here.
Yeah.
Here's my one thing that absolutely pisses me off about this whole thing. Like, ESPN has the money and the gravitas to do this, but you can't continue the Zach Lowe podcast. Yeah, that pisses me off. Like, Pablo Torre and Bomani Jones had to go. They were too expensive, but several billions have been thrown around to get deals like this done. How many $68,000 a year producers have been laid off because times were tough? And then coming out of those tough times when everybody's tightening their belts, oh, here's billions of dollars for more acquisition rights. Look at what's happened at ESPN. ESPN Radio used to be a murderer's row of talent. I can't name a show that's on ESPN Radio right now. Not one of them.
It's a different world, but you could say that potentially over time, and you and I have both been victim of what you just mentioned, but over time, those $1,000 jobs multiplied and becoming exponential numbers leads to this kind of thing. And I used to say, look, I produced Colin's show. Colin and I knew we were a big show in the middle of the day for Fox Sports 1, but we both would look at each other multiple times and say, okay, we got a pretty good number on Monday or Tuesday. We did this segment. A lot of, we had more people that normally watch us. They watched the time. And then we'd laugh once in a while. How many people watched on Sunday during the football game again? We were splitting up and looking at thousands of people watching us and excited about that.
Hey, we had 300,000 tuning in the Monday after.
Yeah, exactly. And guess what? The game day is what matters.
18 million. 18 million.
The millions of eyeballs on Sunday is what matters here. And the thousands of eyeballs during the week is just the rest of it that gets you to that Sunday. That's what it's about.
We're breaking a little news here on today's live stream. Millions is more than thousands. And that, I guess, brings us to our next topic, which is a topic that I was completely unfamiliar with until I read the press releases. And you can say, well, Damon, this is because you're an older guy. I would also tell you, I don't live in my phone the way that generations after me have comfortably wanted to live in their phones and watch content creators from people that, quite frankly, I've never heard of. Katie Feeney. I never heard of Katie Feeney. She's a 20-something influencer that ESPN just hired, and they're going to basically flip her the keys to their entire social media department and presence. Why? Who is she? She's got 14 million followers. Sammy, every single day we do Today in History, I go to this webpage to find out whose birthday it is. And what they consider celebrities, I have to go through, it's nothing but YouTube and TikTok and Snapchat stars that I've never fucking heard of. And this is like the most popular birthday that's being celebrated in the celebrity world today. And it's some, 12-year-old YouTube star or TikTok star. And I've never even heard of these people. Anyways, this is a brilliant way that this was framed by Ethan Sherwood Strauss, who I'm a big fan of. He says this whole Katie Feeney thing is a disorientating 1-2 punch of current media era that now nobody becomes famous, and somehow B, every time you hear about a new famous person, they've been famous to tens of millions of people before you have ever even heard of them.
This is the difference between traditional. That word traditional is something that we just have to get rid of, okay? Because Feeney is being introduced on a traditional platform, but has been famous in a world that is more important for a while now. And that's what happens. It's just that she will now be introduced on a new and different stage, but she has been owning her stage for all of this time. I want to give credit to my cousin Jack, who's a huge fan of what you and I do. He has been telling me for years, do you know about this person? Do you know about this person? And it's, again, he's seeing that someone's got a huge following, and then it's showing up in his reels, and he's just saying, wow, look at this person. This is a great take from this person. He is on this, and he's our age, but he's got an eye for, oh, wow, this person's got a ton going on that not a lot of people you would think know about it, but tons of people obviously know about it. His number one story for the week is this Feeney thing, because this proves his point. This person is a big deal, and all of a sudden everyone's going to know it. And guess what? Now everybody knows it.
Here's how the hiring process has changed in the media. You used to be a broadcaster who wanted to be hired by a major network to now have a large audience. Now, networks are seeking people who come with large audiences to bring them to their network, so they now have access to that audience as well.
And there's a subtle difference. It actually has been happening for a long time, Damon. Let's think about our days in radio and making money in radio. Those stars that could come to the microphone that had partners, and by partners, I mean business associates, and I frankly mean sales. In other words, if you could bring products with you that were already tied to you, that already loved you, the idea, Damon, essentially, Ike's now who is in love with you, you could theoretically, any place that you go, you could say, well, let's talk to Ike's. That they're going to want, they're going to want to be a part of what I do. They're a fan of what I do. That used to be the currency, Damon. That used to be the number one currency, is that you were tied to brands. You were tied to brands that already trusted and believed in you. And now you could bring that to a station, and they could now do business with that brand because you are now a part of the station. And what you just said is exactly that. Instead of brands and specific dollars, it's eyeballs, which we know the word is followers.
Look, you could not hire Brent Musburger in 1988 without also getting a deal with State Farm Insurance.
Done.
They came together. And
that was beautiful to anyone who hired him. They knew that. They knew that they now had a line into State Farm, and that was a win-win. And now, like you said, it's getting the audience.
That's
the commodity.
How much this is
That's the commodity.
Here's the thing. It's all changed an awful lot, like up to this moment, in a staggering amount of time. Like we've put 50 years of progress into just the last 18 months. It feels like it's been crazy the way that things are changing. And now you see all these networks trying to get ahead of the curve. And I didn't know who Katie Feeney was, but somebody at ESPN brought her name and that audience to somebody who had never heard of her either. And they took one look and they're like, yeah, hire her. She comes with a massive following.
Because you couldn't deny it. And it's right there for everybody. That's the thing. It's like, you have to sell people, right? In this world, you're ultimately talking to someone else who's got a job ahead of you, who's going to be part of the hiring process for this. And how do you sell this new person? Okay, I like Feeney, but what does she do? How can I sell this? You send a screenshot of her bio on Instagram or Twitter, and you see the following, and it's undeniable. These people are smart. These people in offices that are on higher floors than us, they're smart. They get it. They know what dollars could be tied to those eyeballs, period.
And look, there's nothing for anyone to be bitter or angry about. Here I am, a guy who absolutely, I think that I should honestly be employed at the highest level of broadcasting. I think I'm pretty goddamn good at what I do. But what I don't have is 14 million. I'm not showing up with 14 million. So I'm going to need you to hit like and subscribe. And I'm going to need you to do that
get
right
us there. Get us there. This is honestly how it happens. And look, Damon, I was a part of it at CBS Sports. We were hiring people. There were people that got jobs that I hadn't, that I was in a room and all of a sudden someone brings up, hey, this guy's got a big following on YouTube. This guy's tied to this sport that we are now covering. He's got a big following on YouTube. What if we put him on the desk for our coverage of these games? Guess what? It works. That person knows what he or she is talking about when it comes to that particular subject. And now you're just providing a different stage for that person. It is the new world. You no longer have to go to Syracuse's broadcasting school and get a degree that way. It is no longer that path. It just is not.
Right. Do you have an iPhone? You're in the media. Congratulations.
You got a ring light and an iPhone. Good to go.
Right. And, Elon Musk famously said, congratulations, you now are the media. Well, guess what? You want to know why no one trusts the media anymore? It's failed at its top level. It's failing at its bottom level. It's failed bird's eye view. It's failed on the ground. And no one knows who to trust anywhere, anytime. So you're basically picking your own, I trust this person, I don't trust this person, and you're vetting who you believe or trust yourself. It's no longer a news director, a newspaper's editor that is the gatekeeper. So it's amazing how things have changed.
And think about this, by the way, the way you eat, and we'll move on after this, but think about what you are excited about to go eat nowadays. So you're not necessarily reading a magazine with again, and LA Times, there's, the 100 best restaurants. That would always be the list that would come out, right? That's no longer the world. Go to your feed right now. I don't care how sick and twisted you are. Within your feed, you know what comes up? Somebody eating something delicious and telling you you've got to go there to grab a bite. And that is what convinces you. Someone you don't know, big deal or not, someone you don't know is eating something, telling you it's great. It looks good when you're seeing the video of it. And now you have convinced yourself that you've got to try it. That's the world.
Right. I saw somebody I never met eat a taco I've never tried, and now I want that taco.
And I'm jealous of that person's experience, and I want to create it for myself.
Like and subscribe, our good friends. We got preseason football. It's happening tonight. It's going to happen again tomorrow night. It's going to happen on Saturday, and then more of it's going to happen on Sunday. This will feel like a first full football weekend, kind of.
Well, I said this. So last year, the college football playoff expanded, did a couple things. So last year, and I put a quick thing on the YouTube page about this. Last year, we had playoff football when you consider for NFL and college football. We had playoff football on a stretch of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Wild card weekend in the NFL was tied into also college football playoff games that were happening. I don't even think it was the semifinal. It might have been before that, but there was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday of playoff football. And now you and I are just excited about Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of preseason football. But guess what? We should be excited. Every single team you will get a look at now.
Here we go. I don't have to go down to training camp anymore. It's just going to be on my TV, and it'll be easier to watch because I'm not going to have an entire offensive line B team standing in between me and the play I'm trying to watch. Again, the number one asked question in Santa Clara is, who caught that? Who threw that? Who tipped that pass? You can't see shit. Here are the top 3 ways to watch the preseason. Number 1, don't try to take too much definitively away from anything. This is not definitive football. This is let's see who maybe football. That's what this is. Let's say CJ West looks unbelievable against the Denver Broncos, and he gets some snaps and he looks great. And then you're going to see, well, that was against the 3rd string center of the Denver Broncos who started this game. So what do we really got out of that? CJ West looked really good against a guy who won't even make it to cut down day. He's going to take his playbook, and the Turk is going to bring him to the GM, and he's out. So don't take too much away from anything that you watch and try to reach a definitive, this is what I now know about my football team based on these games. Number 2, what kind of makes the 49ers interesting this preseason, though, which adds a little sprinkle to them, is they're in a situation where, no one wants to play their starters in the preseason, but you want to get your rookies some run. And a lot of these rookies will be starters for the 49ers this year. Again, what does it mean that Mikael Williams looked good against a Bronco tackle who won't make it to cutdown day? I don't know. but I'll know it's not good if Mikael Williams looks bad against that player.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then number 3, let's not deny him his place and what he means to preseason and what's about to happen. Folks, after being embarrassed in the NFL draft, Shedeur Sanders is about to have the spotlight and the main stage of Lollapalooza almost all to himself. We are going to get Shedeur Sanders as the prom king of this preseason. And then remember, we might get a little Trey Lance versus the 49ers when it's all said and done this preseason. There are interesting things to actually watch as they develop out there. So in a world where no one should ever be like betting on preseason games or watching, there is some interesting stuff actually going to happen this preseason. I am excited. I'm not just excited that we're almost to the regular season. Like, I'm actually a little bit excited about seeing some shit over the next couple weeks.
Because of the popularity of the draft, the preseason has changed. I have changed my opinion about the preseason. Now that I am more invested in the draft, I am therefore more invested in the preseason. And here's why. Some players are most exciting on draft day because you're seeing their footage from college. They all look like superstars, right? That package that you see on NFL Network or ESPN when you're watching the draft of what this player has done, yet that's against the competition in college football. He may never look like that again on a field because if he's going to the NFL now, he's not going to be up against players like that. But the preseason gives us an opportunity to see those players, to get to know those players in a way that we may not have done. Damon, you can share the screen right now that I put up. This is the entire slate. Siciliano had actually tweeted this out. This is the slate of football over the next, again, this says week 1. Don't get too excited. This is preseason week 1. And remember, we had a week 0 for the Hall of Fame game.
Right.
But there it is. That's every team in the NFL, every single team. You're going to see every single team over the next 4 days: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Whatever any training camp is doing right now, whatever battle is happening that you think matters most in your life, you're going to see it unfold over the next 3 weeks. That is actually exciting. I like that the preseason was cut down a touch, and it will be cut down even more in the future, in the very near future, when this league moves to 18 regular season games. You're going to see one fewer preseason game, and we already have one fewer preseason game that we used to have. And I think it's about the right. And I think 3 is a fair number, but I don't think anyone should play 4. So my point there is, I think 3 is okay. The fact that the Lions and the Chargers have to play 4, I think, is unnecessary. So every team is in action. So if we're talking about things I want to see over the next few weeks, I was trying to keep my list to 3 so we didn't go on and on about preseason, but there is some real excitement, and I want to explain this. You said it. Shedeur Sanders, let's be clear. Embarrassed as he may have been with a fake phone call from the Saints about drafting him, this is all eyeballs. Shedeur Sanders will be the number 1 story that comes out of this weekend, I promise you, no matter what. However many snaps, however many plays, however many drives he leads, that will be the story.
How about this? If he plays well, it'll be a big story. If he plays poorly, it'll be the Hindenburg.
Yes. And I've said it before, when you're talking overrated and underrated players in this league, no matter what happens for the rest of his life, I will stand by this statement. The most overrated player we've ever seen is Shedeur Sanders. And I want to preface that. That is not a knock at Shedeur Sanders. It's a knock at the industry that we are a part of, Damon.
That rates them.
He was rated as somebody we were going to see hugging Roger Goodell on a Thursday night.
Right.
And he did not get a phone call from an actual team until Saturday, and even then late in Saturday's process. So that to me tells me everyone was assuming he could go as early as the Giants in the first round.
Right.
And he went to the Browns 2 days later. This is not Aaron Rodgers waiting with a camera on him. We're talking about days later, not hours, not minutes, not teams, days later. So that's the most overrated you could be. And that's not about whether or not he's good or not. I want to unpack that for everyone. He's just been rated incorrectly.
This is also a referendum on Mel Kiper's quarterbacking credibility. Oh my God. If Shedeur Sanders looks fantastic, Mel Kiper might as well go on TikTok and whip his dick out for everybody to see it.
You're absolutely right. So guess what? Think about the amount of eyeballs that are invested in what happens now, right? That entire draft industry, the mock draft industry, has eyeballs on this game because the I told you so, the best opportunity for I told you so is happening when Shedeur Sanders gets to play in the season. So that is a big deal. I just want to say that is the biggest deal. It's Shador, without question. The number two thing I'm excited about, because you and I talk about a lot of things that happen within rules and within officials, the virtual first down marker. Everyone enjoy that. Last year's preseason was about the dynamic kickoff and how weird that was going to look, right? And everyone had an opinion, and that's where we got to see it.
Get rid of it. I don't care. Like it does nothing.
Right.
It's a boring play.
Right. And it unfolded in front of our eyes, and we got to see it happen. The thing you're going to see now from preseason is this virtual first down marker. And by the way, it is real and it is spectacular. Why?
I saw it in the Hall of Fame game.
You did.
The very first time I saw it, I said, okay, I'm ready to never go back.
I don't ever need to see anything ever again. Tennis is not asking whether or not you like Hawkeye, which, by the way, Hawkeye is the difference between right and wrong, yes and no. Sports is yes and no. The reason I think the NHL is a problem is because they have 3 columns: yes, no, and maybe. Win, loss, and overtime loss. I don't need the maybe. You won the game, you lost the game. That's what sports is. Yes or no. That's what the world is, right? You call someone, you're in sales, it's a yes or it's a no, period, right? And in sports, you won the game or you lost the game, and that means you're going to the playoffs or you're not, and you're in the Super Bowl or you're not, and you're winning the Super Bowl or you're not. It's yes and no. And that's what first downs are about. Did Josh Allen want a specific and precise spot on the ball with his last chance against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game? Did they deserve that?
He would have loved that.
Should there be precision behind that, or should this be 60-year-old men holding 2 poles separated by chain links walking onto the fields? Gene Steratore, I love him. The moment where he put the index card there for the first down, I loved it. But guess what? That was actually Gene giving birth to this, because that was as close as you could get to that act. You wanted to be precise. He was going to be precise. He needed that. He needed it to be that precise, and he was in that moment. But this virtual first down marker is precise, it will be precise, and it leaves the argument out of the equation, Damon. This isn't about calling your buddy and saying, I can't believe they screwed my team. There is no more they. It's just correct or incorrect.
And here's the deal. We're living in a world where, we're giving it all over to the computers and AI. My mom, because I don't really have them in Florida yet, the state that probably needs them more than any other state, but we got a whole bunch of driverless cars around San Francisco. Every single time my mom sees a driverless car, she rubbernecks that thing like she's never seen it before in her life, because she never really has seen it before in her life. It's to the point where I'm now, they're omnipresent. I don't even spectacularly gawk at them anymore. I wonder, how long will it be until there are, where it becomes actually odd to see a driver in the driver's seat?
By the way, Damon, here's the next step. All right. I know a few people in my life who are uber wealthy, who get to buy cars very often. And you know what I've said to them? Wouldn't the most spectacular thing in the world to be able to buy one of these cars that can actually truly drive you around also? That, when you're talking, and again, this is Waymo is a company that has these cars available for you to basically rent for the length of your ride. When are we going to see people owning these cars? Because we're not far away from that. Tesla almost will get you all the way there, but these cars truly do it. We are not far at all from that.
Fewer than 10 years.
These cars are electric. I think electric technology is great because you can put a gas station in your driveway, and that's just amazing, because a gas station is the disgusting place that with everything that comes to you in this world. I can't believe we still accept going to gas stations, except for a lot.
Although I got to tell you, I love the smell of pumping gas.
Well,
I like the smell of gas,
dude. For you and I to huff gasoline, yes, we can still do that. Okay, that's okay, and we're gonna get to that when we get to George Kittle in a little bit. But
don't take my gasoline away.
But my point is, technology is about making life easier. The Waymo has made Ubering even easier. First of all, Uber made taxiing easier, right? And now Waymo has made Ubering even easier, essentially. You don't even have to forget about saying you want the driver to shut the fuck up. There is no driver. You don't have to talk to anybody. He's not there. So I think owning a car like that is the ultimate. I talked about the dropping the mic for ESPN to say the NFL wants 10% of us. The ultimate drop a mic, if you're a millionaire who wants the best car on the planet, I've got a car and I don't need to hire a driver because the car drives itself where I want to go. I sit in the back and do my homework while someone gets me there. Forget about texting and driving. I do text and drive. I'm the best texter and driver because I don't have to drive my fucking car. My job in this car is to text in the back seat. That's all I got to do. That would change everything. So that's amazing. So again, when it comes to technology, you know what I'm all for? When it comes to technology, I am all for it. You and I can sit here. We will be salty in the beginning. It's going to happen. But guess what? In 10 years, we're going to look back and say, well, that should have happened sooner.
Totally.
That should have. So
thank you very much, 49ers. Hey, car, turn on the plus.
Yeah, that's it. Yes. That's it. We're in a world where we're telling our objects to do things, and a car, we're going to tell it to drive. That is the new technology. So that's okay. So Shador, I want to give number one. The virtual first down is number two. Number three, and I actually didn't have this on my list at first, and I realized, what am I, an idiot? If Travis Hunter is really going to play both sides of the ball, and this is our chance to see it, holy shit. If this guy's really going to play, if this guy's going to play offense and defense in a game throughout whatever amount of time he's on the field, holy shit, this is revolutionary. We're going to get to Shohei in a little bit, but if Travis Hunter is going to play in a game on both sides of he's never going to be off the field unless it's special teams play. I mean, I'm sorry. I got to see that. So for the preseason, this guy has a chance to do something that we have not. And he's saying he wants to do it. The franchise is saying he's going to do it. I'm sorry. That's fucking cool. I want to see Travis Hunter because I think the best move of the draft still is the Jags moving up. I think the most revolutionary player in this draft, the chance of it is more on Travis Hunter than it is a quarterback. And most years that's not the case, but Travis Hunter's got that chance to revolutionize the team that moved up to draft him. I want to see that unfold. The next thing I want to...
It's a big ass to ask a guy to go like straight up. You're playing high school Iron Man football. You go both ways in the NFL.
It's ridiculous. It's actually... Let me tell you something, Damon. It is ridiculous. Nobody should do it. But nobody should pitch the top of the first inning and lead off the bottom of the first inning. So, I mean, things do happen, and he's got a chance to do it. And and again, the preseason's going to, think about the opinion, whatever opinions people have of Travis Hunter right now, that's everyone's speculating. What's going to happen when he is playing on both sides or takes a big hit as a receiver, makes a big hit as a defender? Like, think about how that's going to just explode our minds to actually see it happen. So that, I got to say, that's right up there with Shador. And maybe it's even more so because it's something I've never seen. A quarterback playing well or not, I've seen that. I've seen that. Travis Hunter, I haven't seen it. So I want to say that. The other guy that I hope is...
I saw Desmond Howard. I even saw the 49ers use Dion on go routes every now and then.
Yes.
But that was one or two go routes.
Right.
He wasn't out there for like a near majority of offensive snaps. If this really happens with the guy who's also your starting corner, it will be a through the looking glass level moment.
The idea that I don't know whether or not to draft Travis Hunter on my fantasy team is a wild thing. And I'm not talking because I don't know where he's ranked, because I truly don't. He could actually play wide receiver and cornerback, safety, wherever he wants to go in the secondary. That's unbelievable to me. And the idea that I don't know what to bet.
That's an easy thing to do, by the way. You draft Travis Hunter and then just pick up the Jaguars defense.
That's it. Perfect. And now you've covered it. Exactly. And I don't know what to do. Am I putting $100 on this guy to win offensive rookie of the year? Or am I putting $100 on this guy to win defensive rookie of the year? That's a crazy statement. I mean, we throw it around, but just think about how wild that is. So I want to see it unfold. And by the way, they'd actually be smart not to play him at all. I mean, the whole idea behind what Davante Adams said, which if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Davante Adams hit it on the head. The issue is that injuries are what they are, and you've just multiplied it by 2, right? I mean, if you're on the field twice as much, it's just twice as much of a chance to get injured. And I don't know what the numbers are, whether a defensive guy gets more injured or an offensive guy. I really don't know in football. I'm sure there are those numbers, but that's amazing. To be on the field for all of it, yes, there's a risk there. No matter what, that's a risk. And to do it during the preseason, they're going to get crushed no matter what. Jacksonville is about to, you thought hiring or not firing Urban Meyer fast enough got you in hot water. This Travis Hunter thing is going to go one of two ways, and they are going to be fucking brilliant, or they are going to be chastised forever for this. And we'll see. And maybe they'll figure it out, and he'll play one side of the ball, and he'll be Charles Woodson on defense. But until we see it, man, I'm excited. The only thing that would be more exciting is if Antoine Randall played, quarterback and receiver and was able to catch his own passes or something. I mean, I just, this is that cool. The Travis Hunter thing right now is that cool.
I think it is too. To go back to the technology thing and the Hawkeye thing, it was explained to me by a friend of mine who's a doctor. He's a very, very smart guy, Vishal. And, I was talking to him about technology and AI, and he is saying, doctors will be replaced by robots. And I'm like, I will never be comfortable going to a robot doctor. He said, oh, no. What if I can prove to you right now that the robot doctor makes fewer errors than a human? Why would you ever go to the human where human error is in play, where robot doctor would eliminate that? The same thing can also be said, for just technology. There are two operating rooms. One has decent technology, one is state of the art. Which would you rather go in? You're going state of the art every single time.
So as I've said, Damon, here's my problem. I'm holding it right now. This is an old man remote control for those that don't know it, right? Damon, this is the original DirecTV remote. It looks like a TI-82 calculator for those that don't know that, because they do all their math homework on ChatGPT now anyway. Damon, I'll make this point while we go. This remote control allows me to be, yes, and there's the new one, right? But I mean, these things are of course replaced by, I don't have my Roku remote here. They're obviously replaced by the Roku remote. Okay, yeah. And then the Roku remote's about this big, and it does everything you really need now anyway. You don't need any of that, right? But, and really, it's, there you go.
I didn't even have to get up to go get that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, exactly.
Look at all these freaking remotes.
And this is what I want to say about that. There's a button on the remote. There's two buttons on the remote that matter the most these days. And this is what it comes down to, technology. And I'm going to make this point about officiating and refereeing and umpiring, the whole thing. If with my remote sitting on my couch, drinking coffee, beer, lemonade on a Sunday or any other day of the week, if with my remote, I can hit pause and I can hit rewind, and I can determine, because of those two buttons, whether something was fair, foul, in, out, right, wrong, win, loss, why should the umpire or referee not have that same opportunity? If I can freeze the moment where it happened or it didn't, why should real time play a factor in that?
Well, and now with gambling being involved, there's just, yet another reason that the public is demanding this is getting right. And I wanted to get to this.
Yes.
Because this, to me, this is something else. Again, don't bet on preseason games. You don't know how many snaps anyone's going to be getting. You just don't know who's going to be out there. My friendly advice to you is, if you love gambling on football, save your money for football that actually has consequences. Just wait. All you got to do is, you've waited this long, just wait a little longer. Make a baseball over-under play if you just need something to do it to get you through. And if you're feeling like you're addicted to gambling, that was the point. There is,
and one other thing I want to say, just the other, Ashton Genty, pretty excited to see him also. That's it. I just want to see.
Sure. Hopefully he doesn't buy a $12.8 million mansion. That would be my only advice to him. Not before you get into look at it this way. I'm going to want to see you in the end zone once before I see you in that mansion.
Yeah.
Gambling problems. This was what they didn't tell you when they legalized gambling, was that gambling problems are literally a feature they're depending on, not a bug they're afraid of going wrong. They want you to chase the dragon. They want all of your money. They want your kids' lunch money. They want you to have to move out of your house into a more humble apartment because you've given so much to gambling. The 1-800-GAMBLING notice is the biggest bullshit in the world. They would be happy to take all your money and then keep you alive, not die. It's not take all your money and die. It's take all your money and keep you alive so that you then give more of your money to us.
What's hilarious about 1-800-GAMBLER, actually, I have not called it. I wouldn't be surprised if you call it and there's just recorded laughter on the other end of it. Call 1-800-GAMBLER and they're just laughing. Like, you thought there was someone here to help you with this? You didn't know the difference between spending that money or not?
It's the Kirk Cousins sound. You like that? Over and over and over again. Oh, by the way, Joseph Ehrenberg saying Mikael Williams limped off the field.
Wow.
Okay, not good, but I would say this. I'd rather see the word limp than the word cart any day of the week. Lots of picks for Brock Purdy. Oh, no, not meaningless picks in practice. Let me tell you, I want my quarterback to throw all of his fucking interceptions in practice.
That's
not
for
in the
sure.
game.
That's for sure.
I'm not worried about it. No, never mind. Excuse me. What I meant to say was cut Brock Purdy, go with Tanner Mordecai. Oh, no, they cut him too. I guess it's got to be Mac Jones. Saw today that DraftKings and FanDuel together are on pace to take in more sports bets this year than every single legal sports book in America in the years 2018, 19, 20, and 21 combined.
So we just talked about making your life easier, right? And you just said it, 1-800-GAMBLER should be a laugh track, or you like that recorded on the other end of the phone. And it's true. They want you to spend your money. And you know what DraftKings and FanDuel did? They made it easier for you to spend your money on gambling. Because it comes down to,
Right.
can I open my phone and make a bet within 2, maybe 3 clicks? And that's
How do
what
we
the
sell
world has come down
cigarettes
to.
to minors? Put them in vending machines. There you go. The vending machine doesn't give a fuck who put that $4 in. Boop.
Gone. It's mine. I can get something at a touch of, and even easier than the vending machine, because that's not necessarily in your living room. FanDuel and DraftKings were in your pockets to make bets on sport. It's in your pocket. I mean, think about the idea that you and I used to be in Vegas, and that was our opportunity to make a bet, Damon. Like how laughable that is now. I mean, look, Vegas is still the capital of the world for many reasons, and I've told you, I think every single Super Bowl should be in Las Vegas. But that aside, it's not because you can get. Everyone with a phone can gamble and does. And that's what those two did. They made it easier to gamble.
Right. Imagine how many more heroin addicts we would have if you could download the heroin app and get a spike anytime you needed it just by pressing a button.
Right. Not a rubber band tied around my arm, not someone else's syringe that I got to burn a spoon and suck out of. Again, this is all, frankly, I don't have a lot of firsthand knowledge of that, but it looks like a pretty hefty project to undertake to get my high with heroin. But you're right.
Wire, it ain't pretty.
But if my Face ID could get me that high, I think you'd have more people trying it than not.
I am become death destroyer of words.
Yeah.
The ice cream man was pushing Pall Mall candy cigarettes. You could suck in on the candy cigarette, but you didn't. You blew out because they put in little puffs of
powdered sugar, little powdered sugar. Yep,
like puffs. It was a different time. It was a different time,
and that's what gambling is now. Because trust me. Because people that aren't sports fans, look, in a way, for what you and I do, it's nice because it is a gateway into becoming a sports fan. For someone that didn't grow up with a team, your gateway in fantasy football is
gateway drug.
Gateway drug here is gambling. It's either fantasy football or it's gambling. Those are the gateways, because people that don't grow up traditionally rooting for a team are now rooting for a player because there's money on that particular player. Money through a fantasy football team, money on a specific prop bet, that gets people to invest. When you're emotionally, and by the way, financial and emotional are barely separated, because when you're losing money, guess what? You want to fucking cry, and that's an emotion.
Right. That's as emotional as you get.
Yeah, exactly. So those two things, you want to be emotionally or financially tied to a game. That's what gambling does, and that's what it has done. And congrats to DraftKings and FanDuel. They figured out the best way to do it.
One of my gambling question would be, I wonder what the most popular bet now is in sports. Is it prop bets? Is it straight up game lines? Is it team totals, over unders? What are people most addicted to? And let me just tell you, there is, a huge wave of gambling that everyone is surfing on right now. Like all waves, this wave will come crashing on the rocks. And we are no more than 5 years away from a national gambling epidemic that will be not as, life-taking as opioid epidemic, but will be as financially crumbling and family ruining. There has been a deal with the devil made, and the devil will come for the souls. I'm just telling you, there's a part of me that loves to put a little something on a game every now and then.
Sure.
Thank God I don't have an addictive personality, and I know when to back off. And I've always told myself, Damon, you think you know just enough about sports to not gamble. Like you are the guy who could take this too far. So I basically never even started the journey.
Smart.
A lot of people don't do that. Again, I am a great drunk. I can sit down and drink in a way that 5 hours into it, you'd be like, have you even had a drink? I hold my liquor well. A lot of people don't. And a lot of people are more, there's not a lot of people who hold their gambling well.
it's first of all, again, because of the idea of the chase. I mean, look, I have sort of a shared account with somebody. I won't say his name, and I won't see their name, his name. Okay.
It's Cowherd. You're both rolling huge.
This person would make a bet every day. I'm getting texts from this person all the time. Sammy, let's make this bet. Sammy, let's put $100 on this. Sammy, let's put $50 on this. Sammy, let's do this. Because we have an account together and it's there and there is money in it. And we could make a bet anytime we want, theoretically. I mean, I'm in LA. I got to text my cousin in New York. It's like kind of complicated, but we figured it out. But what I do instead is I take every text that I get from this person, I put it in my own little calculator, and I say, all right, if we bet once a month, we could probably win. If I'm betting every night with this person, I'm going to lose. And the idea of gambling is that you are going to bet every night, because when you lose, you think the next one's going to win and you're constantly chasing what you lost. And that's the cycle you fall into, and it's terrifying. If you could be measured about betting, if you can say, maybe I want a future on the Super Bowl, and then I want a future on the World Series, and maybe I want a future on the Masters, that's a measured way to bet. Because at worst, you're going to lose $100 5 times a year.
Right. Look, my dad used to have his, I don't know if it was my dad saying, but he would say it. Anything in moderation is fine. Anything in moderation is fine. It's when you take things too far. It's when you don't know how to back off. That's the problem. And all of these apps and what you're betting on, you're as addicted to the user interface as you are the results. And believe me, they know that. They designed it that way. I just read an interesting column. And by the way, since you and I both got, young ones in front of the TV.
Youngins, yep.
Ah, man. So there was just a study done between 2 groups of children. What group 1 of children was allowed to watch modern children's programming.
Okay.
The second group was only shown children's programming from the 80s and early 90s. The lack of intentional built-in for addiction stimuli that was in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and older children's television program, they noticed that the 2 kids, after turning the TV off, modern kids went freaking bonkers and were so hyped up on electronic TV.
Well, and I'm probably pissed that you turned it off, right? There's that whole, right? Okay, yeah.
There's that. But the other kids were delivered just a calmer presentation, and their calm demeanor is what defined their post-TV watching experience more than the rambunctious demeanor of the overstimulated by modern, intentionally there to addict you stimuli that is built in now to children's programming.
That is terrifying that you just said that. I believe every word of it. And I've seen my son, and I'm sure you've seen it with Jack and Ozzy. And I know my cousin, who's raising boys of his own, has seen it and actually has done this experiment on his own where he's let his boy watch TV for a week and then not the next week. And just the difference in personality or that. Yeah, it's terrifying. And again, like you said, moderation. And with gambling, it's tough to find that moderate area. But
by the way, Smith says user interface is the equivalent of holding the cigarette. Yes. Absolutely. So I've always said one of the reasons why I probably have smoked as much weed in my life as I have isn't just the high, it's the ritual. It's the ritual, breaking up the weed, rolling the joint. Not that I'm doing a lot of joints anymore. No, but it's just, in college, it was the ritual of it all.
It was. And by the way, watch the Netflix. It's either a movie, it might be a series. It's on the Juul cigarette, I believe. It's on how that came together. And the brilliance of, again, that technology behind smoking was, can we deliver nicotine in a way that holds on to the ritual? Mm-hmm. We deliver nicotine in a safer, quote unquote, safer way for people, that we're no longer sort of burning the way they are, but they still have the ritual of holding something. And that was the beauty of it. That's what smokers loved, the idea of going and holding an item. And yeah, I mean, it's still, nicotine is still addictive, and it's going to, maybe that's our transition to the George Kittle story.
Okay. Well, let's absolutely talk about it, because there is a story. Now, I don't know how much credence we give this? Because I
no, it's back and forth. We know where it definitively is now. So go take us on the timeline. Take us on the timeline. We are definitively where you said, you and I agreed today. We are where we're at now, but take us through the timeline, because it seemed in the moment, oh my God, what are they doing to us? And then it softened a bit, but you can walk us through.
On the day that NFL Network was at 49ers training camp.
Correct.
Rhett Lewis, who, by the way, went to Indiana, played Indiana football. I talked to him for a little while. But he was part of bad Indiana football memories. We're talking about how good it is now. They were doing, I think, an interview with Fred Warner, and then George Kittle just popped in, did a cameo to say, I'm here to get something off my chest. The NFL has just banned ammonia tablets and smelling salts from being used in game, and I'm considering retiring because I don't use them to refocus me. I use them in between every drive. Now, the joke used to be in Chicago that in order to have Tom Waddle as a Bears wide receiver, they needed to go to Costco to buy their smelling salts. There was no player awoken from unconsciousness as often as Tom Waddle was with ammonia caps and smelling salts and shit like that. Tom Waddle, it's amazing that he does radio. It's amazing that the guy's noodles not scrambled. He was rendered unconscious, yet in the next series all the time. So you've got Kittle upset and complaining that smelling salt bans are going to affect him because apparently, believe it or not, holding ammonia tablets up to your nose and go isn't good for you. For the NFL to ban something that's not good for you, to me, is just comical. The whole fucking sport's not good for you. None of this is good for you. So where you decide to draw the line feels very performative. And to draw the line there, but,
And right at the moment, and by the way, so let's follow the timeline. Right at the moment that the line was drawn, this is banned, then we read from the NFLPA what actually happened. And George Kittle is very happy about the next paragraph, which said essentially, okay, you can't have your smelling salts ... delivered to you by the team. You essentially cannot, the team cannot provide your smelling salts, which means BYOSS. Bring your own smelling salts.
You can't get the drugs from the team, but if you bring your own drugs, party on, Wayne.
Party on, Wayne. And the other part of this story is a great one. Really,
the correct answer and response would have been party on, Garth.
Party on, Garth. Party on, Garth. Damon, I so apologize. And that is, yes, party on, Garth. And for those that don't know that reference, please, I don't know what you're doing with yourself, but please do. Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. So, Damon, hat tip to my cousin Joe, younger cousin, who introduced me to something that I don't need in my life, but it does exist. And in fact, it exists on NFL sidelines. And Baker Mayfield was actually not punished for this. Does everyone in the chat know what a Zyn pouch is? Okay. Zyn. Okay.
A Zyn pouch is that fake chewing tobacco or?
Yes. By the way, yes. Okay. So baseball had a problem with chewing tobacco. Football doesn't have a problem with chewing tobacco, but let's be clear about what Zyn is. So the smelling salt, like you said, it's like paddles. It's electric paddles to your dead heart, waking you and reviving you. Okay, that's what a smelling salt is, right? I'm feeling out of it. Maybe I got hit. Boom. Now I'm focused and I'm into it. All right. That's what the smelling salt is. NFL players think they need it, probably need it, use it, and love it. And Kittle was furious when he thought it was going away. Trust me, he'll have a new guy getting him what he needs, and that's going to be just fine. But Zyn is kind of looks like an Altoids case. You open it up. So chewing tobacco.
The Zyn pouches are for dudes that used to chew and then got married.
Thank you. Exactly. Your wife hated the idea that you had real tobacco in your lip and you would spit that into a cup, which is admittedly disgusting. Right? I mean, the idea that your habit,
part of the ritual.
Right. You're right.
Sammy,
You're right.
Part of the ritual. I loved my dip, and I loved my dip cups as much as my dip brand.
But what you wouldn't love is sipping. A sippy dip cup is definitely the worst item on the planet. Okay.
So again, this is why you go to college, you join a fraternity, and you learn how to sidestep these things.
I mean, if we were running a poll today, bong water or dip cup, like what's a worse sip? Used bong water or dip cup is They're pretty bad.
It's
dip cups. Dip cups. It's like I talked.
Bong. That dip juice was in somebody else's mouth.
You're right. That's the bird feeding its young, the dip cup. So yes, you're right. You're right. So that's
second. By the way, Scotty D wants to know period of purse all deep touchdown just now. Oh, and in that case, we won't be cutting Brock Purdy. Thank you very much, Scotty.
Save this job. Save this job.
Who's been more generous than Scotty D today? Look at Scotty D coming in here. Scotty D coming in here. Scotty D coming in here. And let's not forget our good friend Joseph Ehrenberg coming in there. Thank you, Joseph.
Nothing matters more than that. And thank you all for liking and subscribing. So back to Zyn real quick.
We're working for tips.
So the spit cup was replaced then. So instead of actually having the water tobacco in your mouth, you could then have what were pouches, tobacco pouches. So they were essentially tobacco fit inside a little pillowcase, a tiny little pillowcase of tobacco that you could fit right here in your gum line. And it was less disgusting. You still realistic. You probably still should spit because it was a pretty big high if you weren't spitting with that thing, but you definitely had to spit less and it wasn't as disgusting. And your wife was kind of okay with that, except that there were still these disgusting chewed brown pillowcases that you would find in random places. So what Zyn said is, wait a second, what you actually really, the only thing you really want is the high of the nicotine. So we're going to get rid of the raw tobacco. We're going to get rid of the tobacco pouch. We're going to give you a pouch of nicotine. This thing, it is essentially, if you typed into Chat GPT, can I get high on nicotine right now? It would spit you out one of these packages. That's what Chat GPT would. It is an AI nicotine high. You open them up and they look like they're from a movie that's 30 years in the future. They're white little pouches that don't look like anything. They taste a little bit like maybe if you were to almost like spraying Banaka in your mouth back in that. It's a little bit with it. They've got like a menthol feel to them. Mm-hmm. It immediately burns in your mouth, and within 10 seconds, your head is in another place. Your head, I mean, it is a heroin shot of nicotine like you could not imagine. And NFL players also, Baker Mayfield, starting quarterback of the Buccaneers, uses them, has used them on an NFL sideline, and is not being penalized for this. But trust me, this could be a thing one day. Zyn, for those that haven't tried it, I don't want to be the guy that told you to try it. You're probably fascinated now that I've described it if you don't know what it is. But it sent my buddy a couple weeks ago on his birthday directly into the bathroom to vomit within 10 seconds. So you got to watch yourself with these things. But wow, it is a wake up, just like those smelling salts. Trust me. And I will say this much, if that ban were true the way Kittle thought it was that day, I promise you Zyn would have been the replacement, Damon. I guarantee you Baker Mayfield would have texted everybody to say, guys, don't worry about the smelling salts. Try the Zyn pack. It is the equivalent. There is nothing that takes you from 0 to 100 like a Zyn pack. It is out of this world. And if NFL players start to use that, they're not even going to worry about smelling salts anymore.
By the way, Niners Worldwide, I just put in a Zyn citrus. I mean, there you go. There you go.
My cousin Joe uses these on Tuesday mornings, and I can't even imagine, because when I tried it with him on a Saturday night, it almost ruined my entire next week.
It's I remember the very first time I tried dip or chewing tobacco. It sent me spinning. I mean, I didn't vomit. I didn't throw my cookies up, but I remember being so dizzy that I had to sit down.
It is roller coaster. It is
ninth grade.
There are two rides it's equivalent to. When you're at Disneyland, if you're on the teacups and you like the teacups, Zyn is for you. And at Magic Mountain, there's a Six Flags, there's something called Spin Out, which is just you sit in a room and it just spins. If you like those two experiences, Zyn is for you. And if you don't, stay away.
It's not a topic that I thought we were going to ever really get to, but sure enough, it exists in the world of sports. Sammy, are you ready to talk about lime green dildos attacking WNBA courts?
Is there a greater topic on social media than this one? And I mean, from the idea of I mean, people have been pretty funny. I got to give a lot of people credit. This has reached a new level of creativity from people when creating memes and graphic images on a social media platform. Nothing has provided the fodder of this very real situation happening for the WNBA.
And I am gonna, for the third time, this is the third Barbieri reference of the live stream. Two things can be equally true, and we'll get into both of those things here in just a second. The funniest meme I've seen is the White House person leaning into George Bush and saying, "Sir, a second dildo is hit a court." Let's second dildos hit the court.
Oh my God. Okay. Can we just say this? It can be, like you said, it can be funny. Reprehensible's too too far, right. But it can be funny, and we could tell people maybe to stop it. Although, as a hockey fan, here's the problem: as a hockey fan, part of me can't get away from what the ritual is of that, right? I mean, so for the Florida Panthers are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. They score goals, and plastic rats, are thrown on the ice. For years, the Red Wings were the number one brand in hockey when they dominated, and with Scotty Bowman, when they were winning Stanley Cups every other season, and you would throw an octopus, and that goes back 50, 70 years to them throwing an octopus, because it used to be 8 games you'd have to win the Stanley Cup, and the octopus represented the eight games, and you throw that
right here. The neon green dildos gives a new meaning to plug and play.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Hold on. Scotty D coming in again generously to let us know. 2-minute drill. Purdy to Robinson. Touchdown after his scramble. Oh my God. Extend them.
That's both your guys, by the way, Damon Robinson. I know you've got kind of a dildo for Robinson. I think it's pretty good. I'm happy to see that for Robinson. And now that Keenan Allen, by the way, Keenan Allen didn't get signed. I've already went to church and lit a candle.
Look, the two things that can be equally true about this. Number one, there is something funny about it, because there's always something funny about a dildo, no matter where it is. A dildo in any situation is usually a little bit funny. Number two, for a group of athletes who are overnight taking themselves way too seriously, this is exactly sort of the humbling that the league's arrogance calls for a little bit. It's just like, hey, I understand you got a growing league here, but just calm the fuck down just a little. Also, throwing things on a court should be a near arrestable offense. If this happened in an NBA game, there would be a level of outrage. It would also still be a little funny, and we would talk about that. But here's the thing. Like 10 inches of rubber from a top deck, like that hits you, that could really hurt somebody, right? I mean, that sounds like it could hurt somebody, not to mention the PR nightmare for the player that might actually get hit in the head with a dildo, and then you got the slow-mo vibrating dildo.
Well, it does give new meaning to the term posterized. It certainly does. For sure, forever. Posterized in that setting would never be lived down. You're right about that. And again, I'm a Philadelphia fan across the board. Nobody knows more about fans who throwing
shit on a field
or a court. And look, batteries is still probably, that's still maybe the worst, because that's maybe the most dangerous that you could do. But you are right, Damon. There is a danger factor to this. If there was a way to sort of deliver this on the court in a better way, it could still be funny, right?
I want someone sitting courtside
to just place it,
gently roll one out. Now, it would not roll straight ahead, because the balls would make it turn left.
True, it's tough. It's tough to get it where you really want to. There's not a lot of precision on it. It's not meant for that, right? I mean, it's not designed for that. The aerodynamics of that are just not for it. I want to just say really one thing about this. I want the definitive statement of this to actually be, there are moments in life, jumping the shark, the opposite of jumping the shark, right? Jumping the shark is when something is no longer cool, right? Is like you took the joke too far, and now it's over.
Right.
As far as a moment in time that we can definitively point to and say this league became what it is. So in 10 years, when we say the WNBA is now, in sentences with the NBA, which by the way, it's happening. You can already tell. I mean, look, just watch your sports shows, consume your sports shows in the way that you normally do. The WNBA is part of the conversation, whether no matter what we want to say.
We've never dreamed of 15 years ago.
The WNBA is in the recipe now. Let's just say it. If you are a sports fan, you actually can no longer not have at least one opinion about the WNBA. If you want to go to a party and sit by the punch and have I'm talking other men come up to you and talk to you about sports, if you don't have an opinion on the WNBA, there will be a moment in that conversation where you actually have nothing to say. And you've never been in that position in your life. Well, you've been talking sports your whole life, and at parties, when other guys that, of course, you think know less than you, right? I'm the sports expert at this party, and a guy comes up to you and you're like, let me tell you about why they drafted this guy. Let me tell you about why they cut this guy. Let me tell you about why the DH is now in both leagues, right? You're always the guy that's got the answer. And now, if you don't pay at least a little bit of attention to the WNBA, you're going to be at a party thinking you're the expert. And guess what? The dad that you never talked to, that you got nothing in common with, the only thing you could ever talk about is sports. Now he's going to come up to you. He's going to have a major opinion about the WNBA. And if you don't have something to say about it, you're going to feel for the first time in your life like a dummy when it comes to that topic. So the WNBA, this is your moment where the world truly changed. We can call it Caitlin Clark, and yes, that'll be part of the explanation. But the other part of it, if you wanted to describe it with a neon item, it is this. This is the popularity has reached the point where this has happened. The league, it's tough to say the league's arrived because of this, but I just want to say this is part of the moment. This is happened. This league is in the conversation now, and this is part of it.
They should print T-shirts that say, "Congratulations, you've been dildoed."
It is like being knighted. It is like being knighted because what do they say?
Both shoulders. You got to tap them both shoulders.
The greatest form of flattery is what?
Imitation.
Imitation, or when a girl likes you at school, what does she do? She kind of makes fun of you, right? When you like a girl, you kind of maybe make fun of her a little bit. You're trying to like you don't know how to react. You don't know how to really do it. This is the world essentially saying we're ready to actually make mainstream jokes. Watch Shane Gillis's 10 minutes. By the way, the ESPYs, I just said ESPN is now the number one brand in all of sports based on this deal with the NFL, right? They do a show where they give awards away to athletes, which, by the way, the ESPYs is another sign. The Academy Awards for sports, the ESPYs came up with. There is nothing else. The NFL Honors does it, right? But the ESPYs is the next best thing. Shane Gillis, look at his 10 minutes of opening for the greatest show in all of sports for giving away awards to athletes. Half of his material, and it might be 60%, is WNBA related.
Right. Again, if they ain't teasing you, they don't care about you. At least that's how many guys function, right? I mean, I know the relationship that I have with all of my friends. It is a nonstop cavalcade of personal shots, insults, and slights. And in all of that, what I'm saying is, I love you.
And by the way, and what's the term, ironically enough, for this story? Ball busting.
Congratulations, ladies. Here are your balls. Congratulations. That is fantastic. Oh, no. Dildo or dildon't. There is no try. Pimp Yoda.
Kind of amazing.
That's pretty great.
Kind of amazing.
I am become Death Destroyer of Words on fire today here.
That's pretty outstanding. Well, two things that we're not going to get to. I just want to say real quick, two things. Number one, we'll get into this because it's a big topic, and I want people to think about it when they're watching preseason football. Josh Allen, if you're not watching Hard Knocks, please do. And by the way, our guy Andrew Siciliano is doing the podcast that comes on after that. But Josh Allen was asked about his MVP, and throughout this first episode, you'll hear it a lot. He basically says that he would take a Super Bowl title any day over the MVP, which sounds right coming out of your quarterback's mouth.
Right,
but I want everyone
tarred and feathered if you said it the other way, right?
But I want everyone to think about it. And I'm going to take it one step past the MVP because we saw it this weekend at the enshrinement. Would you rather in your career, when it was all said and done, have a Super Bowl title or a gold jacket? Would you rather be immortalized for the fact that you were part of a team that did this one thing that happens every year? Or would you rather be part of what is the number now, 382 players that are in the Hall of Fame to be immortalized forever as being the greatest of all time? Now, of course, many of them have Super Bowl championships, but if I said you couldn't have the Super Bowl championship and you just had the career arc that landed you there, what would you rather have? Forget that a microphone's in front of you and you have to answer it the right way. Deep down in your soul, what would you rather? I think that's a real tough debate.
It is tough. I think we know what the correct answer is. You want the Super Bowl. You want the championship. You really do, because it is the ultimate team sport, and that is that signifies that you were the ultimate team that year, and that means an awful lot. But if you're also asking, like, which career would you have really rather had, Trent Dilfer's or Dan Marino's? I mean, I think I would have rather been Dan Marino. I mean,
you would. And look, both guys get to be on TV Both guys get to have opinions about NFL now, but it's different. And one other thing before we get to our this day in history, Damon, please just share what I gave you earlier, because I did go see Shohei yesterday.
So Sammy yesterday took his son to Dodger Stadium. He lives down in L.A., and if there was ever a day to be at Dodger Stadium, it looked glorious. I saw the videos that you posted. You posted every Shohei at bat. You had him pitching, and then you tweeted this afterwards.
So this is, I just want to admit, this is not the full game. This is through 3.5 innings. Okay, so through 3.5, let's call it 4 innings, because it does say 4 innings pitched at the top. Shohei, it was the first time in person I got to say Shohei pitch and bat. And of course, we see it all the time. And being there, by the way, anyone who says, oh, I was there, that doesn't mean they have more information. Usually it means they have less, because watching on TV is just the way to consume sports these days. It's just, you end up getting, just like you said, at training camp, you're blocked by everything that's happening, right? Like to actually see it on your TV is the way to get the best seat. But what I'm talking about is the fervor that I was around to see it was pretty exceptional. But then he also delivered on who he's trying to be and what he means to the sport. And I just want to take away the argument for those that are still holding on to anything that you think about best player or MVP or anything else. Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers. You understand, he strikes out the last batter in the top of the first to end the inning, and then goes into the dugout, puts his glove down, puts batting gloves on, and leads off the bottom of the first inning. Okay, just think about how fascinating that is. Travis Hunter or anyone else, think about how amazing that is. So Shohei pitches 4 innings, strikes out 8 batters, and even though I put 1 earned run there, can I ask everyone to go back and watch yesterday? The ball, the runner that was on base, hit a pop fly that landed on second base. The fielders were confused. They lost the ball in the sun. And because it didn't hit anybody's glove, it's considered a hit and not an error. So that earned run actually should not have even happened. All right. So let's just say 4 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts. That's what he does on the mound. By the time he had batted 3 times, he was at bat 3 times. He was on base 3 times. He had 4 total bases. He had a walk, a run, a home run, and 2 RBI. There is not a stat line for anybody else in the history of the game, and I'd have to go back and maybe look at some of Babe Ruth, but I challenge anyone to find it and put it down on paper and show it to Damon and I, because that right there to me is undefeated. And the hilarious part is, guess what? They lost the game. I get it. You can go ahead and say that. They did lose the game, having nothing to do with Shohei, of course, but that is a stat line that is undefeated.
He's the greatest baseball player of all time. I accept no other answers to the question of greatest baseball player of all time. I reject any notion that I need more of a career before I rank him above everybody else. I mean, I did this argument with Ray Ratto so many times, and he'd always come back to Willie Mays, and I'd just say, what was his ERA, Ray? What was his ERA? That's it. He really didn't have much of a comeback. Ray, who had a comeback for everything, really didn't have much of a comeback for that one. And never on the air would he concede to me, but one day he was like, this guy really might be the best one. There is something going on with Shohei Ohtani that is immeasurable. There is something going on with him that is already delivered at the highest level of they've won a World Series championship. They are the only really interesting thing going on in the sport. Sometimes that's how important he is. And all you need to do is go to Japan for just a minute and realize that every team that didn't counter the Dodgers offer with, here's the same offer plus $100 million more, and we'll give it all to you today. Forget about deferred. We are going to sign you to an $800 million contract. $800 million guaranteed at signing. You get a check for $800 million. Every single team in baseball that didn't sign Shohei Ohtani is an idiot. That's how important he is. He is the key that unlocks the globe. The globe.
The Dodgers just bought the Lakers. I mean, that's what. Think about that. Shohei Ohtani investment. Go look at who bought. Jeannie sold the Lakers, her stake in the Lakers, to the Dodgers. As crazy as I was about the ESPN thing, where the NFL's buying ESPN, the Dodgers bought the Lakers. Shohei Ohtani has revolutionized what we think about sport and what being popular in sports even is. If you could have seen the throngs of people around the bullpen 30 minutes before he even arrived in the bullpen, it's unlike, and you saw there were empty seats, Damon. I guarantee you it's because people were trying to find a place to see Shohei Ohtani where he was at that time. It is unlike anything I've ever seen. And we'll never see it again, period.
I mean, I don't know if this will give way to a new way to evaluate talents and develop talents, but he really is. He's in a class photo of 1 at best 2, and the second guy's Babe Ruth. That's
good conversation to be in.
Pretty good. Are you ready for a little history?
Let's please.
Boy, what a long show we've had today. This has been fun, man. I tell you, when you can do an hour and 44 commercial-free, uninterrupted minutes, and it feels like we've only been talking for 15 minutes.
We left stuff on the editing room floor too.
We did. There are a few things we didn't get here. We got some evergreen topics that we'll get to our next time. But today in history, it's kind of an interesting day in history. So let's hop into it. First of all, happy birthdays. Happy birthday to Wayne Knight, who turned 70. And if you don't know who that is, let me just say, hello, Newman. 70 today.
And by the way, also a great role in Toy Story as well. He is the guy who runs the Toy Story that ends up like in Toy Story 2. Wayne Knight is also that voice. He is. He's
also the guy that gets attacked by the thing in Jurassic Park.
I would argue that is my favorite of his roles. Must have the password. Hello Newman is classic, but for those that love Jurassic Park, you love him in it.
Happy birthday to David Duchovny. The truth is out there, and for a minute, man, X-Files was it. It really was. That was a hell of a TV show.
And do not sleep on Californication, at least the first season, by the way. That also, Duchovny is powerful in that as well.
Happy 50th. We now officially have a new entrant to who's the most beautiful 50-year-old woman on the planet. 50-year-old woman on the planet. Charlize Theron today turns 50 years old. That's a good-looking 50-year-old woman.
I had a ranking at some point in my life, and I would have this argument with friends. Penelope Cruz used to set the bar for me for sure, and probably still does. But Charlize is one of these just undeniable. There is one ex-girlfriend I had in my life that I used to compare Charlize to. That was exciting, like telling myself in my head that that's the level that I was at, and Charlize is absolutely next level.
Again, when you stand next to an actual like legitimate supermodel, it's like a solar eclipse. You're going to need like some special glasses to look for too long, or your retinas burn out. It is a different situation. Happy 34th birthday to Mike Trout, one of the greatest players of all time who is being forgotten in real time. Mike Trout used to mean a lot to baseball. Now he's never meant less to baseball than he means right now. The Angels are just thoroughly galactically irrelevant. And Mike Trout is one of the single greatest pissed away careers in the history of Major League Baseball. I'm
so torn. So look behind me. That's an Angels beanie.
It's an Angel. I know you grew up an Angels fan.
Yeah. My dad came out here from Phillies, obviously a Phillies fan, but loved baseball so much, wanted to watch another team. Couldn't make it the Dodgers with the National League conflict, and became an Angels fan watching Reggie and Nolan and Don Baylor, and raised me on Wally Joyner and eventually JT Snow. And then of course the 2002 championship with the Rally Monkey. So I love it all. Mike Trout never won a playoff game, never will win a playoff game as an Angel. The fact that he was 10 years in a row the greatest player undeniably in baseball, where it was, much like the Shohei conversation we're having, Mike Trout was that.
To think they were teammates and won nothing together.
Guess who else was his teammate? Albert Pujols. Never, and at least he went to the playoffs with Pujols, but again, they got swept by the Royals. He has one hit in the postseason. It is a home run. It is robbing us of how we measure every player, and he will walk into the Hall of Fame on a red carpet. And for many people, it would be difficult for them to understand because they never got to see him play in a game that they cared about.
Yeah. By the way, you remember this, Smiley Dan. Thank you. Damon used to use if you saw him at Safeway, you wouldn't recognize him argument. And it's so damn true. If Mike Trout were standing behind you in line at Safeway, you probably wouldn't even recognize him.
You'd let him move ahead. If he had only one item, you'd let him go ahead of you, and that would be it. Yeah.
Right.
You go for it, Mike. Yeah.
Happy birthday, 38th birthday to Sid the Kid Crosby. Happy birthday to Sidney Crosby, now 38. Sidney Crosby is almost 40. If you'd like to feel old, there you go. Kyler Murray is 28 today, and happy 27th birthday to Sam Batesh's Super Bowl champion quarterback, Jalen Hurts. 27 today.
And remember, birthdays for that Super Bowl, because on that day, Cooper DeJean celebrated a birthday, and Saquon, I believe, which was just incredible for them to have that going on the same day. But Jalen, absolutely. And I don't know if there's going to be a quarterback that is more sort of, he's in such a mysterious place right now, Hurts, because he's got Super Bowl MVP. And I think forever his ranking, we always say with Purdy, it's so hard to place. Hurts is going to be a tough one to place for people. He really is. He still really is.
If they go back to back and he wins 2 Super Bowls in a row, then Hurts is going to get all the flowers that come with that. If he doesn't, they're going to be like, "Told ya."
One hit wonder. Yeah.
It's so unfair to live in that world. It really, really is. We're going to go way back. 1782, George Washington. You might have heard of him. George Washington ordered the creation of the Badge of Military Merit. It was later renamed the Purple Heart. So happy birthday to the Purple Heart Medal. Today in 1888, the very first of the Jack the Ripper murders happened in London's East End. Jack the Ripper, I mean, has any mass murderer stood the test of time? Like, I mean, I know we go to Manson, I know we go to Dahmer, but isn't Jack the Ripper like the single to this day most infamous mass murderer ever?
GOAT status.
Goat status, mass murderer.
Moat status. I mean, yeah, murderer of all time. I mean,
Moat status.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right though, Damon. Really, and the name is so great, also, right? Jack the Ripper, which you can apply to other things in life. I'm going to go with you on that.
Right. Had he been Jack the Strangler or Jack the what was it, the Scranton Strangler?
Exactly.
It wouldn't have carried nearly but the Ripper. That's something else. By the way, kids, don't do that.
Yeah, stay away from that. Yeah, not a role model.
Today in 1909, Alice Ramsey and 3 other women became the first women to complete a transcontinental automobile trip, taking 59 days to travel from New York to San Francisco. Alice drove the entire way. The other 2 chicks just rode, just ride. That's why your name's not in the paragraph, ladies. Alice did all the driving. She's famous. All I can tell you is that I don't know of the first ever event of a male transcontinental automobile trip. But the fact that the ladies made it went down in history. So congratulations, ladies.
It's great.
How scraped were their hubcaps after parking?
I was gonna say, don't ever claim that a woman cannot be an outstanding driver. I was going to say that you went with the hubcaps, which is hilarious. Yeah. The tire package was designed for scrape. By the way, I think we talked about things that are designed, like gambling designed for you to go out of control. How is it that no one has come up with a tire? Follow me on this. That extends beyond the wheel rim, so that when you scrape a curb, you're hitting the rubber of your tire and not your actual rim. How is that not in every outstanding car on the planet, which is so proud of its wheels? How have we not created tires that protect that? I don't understand that concept at all.
By the way, you talk about the dildo generating great memes. My favorite one, ladies, this is a shot. I'm not saying it's not a shot. I'm admitting it's a shot. But I always love when there's like a 4 quad image of scraped hubcaps, and that's Happy International Women's Day.
That's just
sorry, ladies.
That's horrible.
It's horrible. But again, like all jokes, there's a little truth to it. Okay, 1944. IBM announced the first programmed controlled calculator. It was called the Automatic Sequence Controlled Calculator. It was known as the Harvard Mark I. It was built with 765,000 components, hundreds of miles of wire, and that first ever program controlled calculator weighed about 5 tons. What I would love to do, they say, if you could go back and get in a time machine and go back in history, would you kill baby Hitler to prevent all that? Would you? There's a lot of things that you should and would do. If I had infinite trips back in time, just for my own shits and giggles, I would go back to that day in 1944, walk into that room in IBM where they're standing next to a 5-ton computer and be like, hey, guys, check this out. Check this out.
Wait, it do what?
This fucking thing does.
Show me. Wait, it does what? It does what?
Yeah.
Wait, it also makes phone calls? What are those?
Right, what's a phone? No, by 1944, they knew what phone
Fine,
was.
but still,
Yeah.
You could also make a call from that thing?
You mean I can watch something on this?
It wouldn't be called a phone, by the way. If you showed it to those guys, I promise you it would not be an iPhone. Think about what the name was for the computer. You just said it. It was a mouthful. That would not be iPhone. It would not have been that.
Right. It would not have been a slick marketing. It would have been lots of numbers and letters and dashes and marks. Today in 1953, officially listed as the 17th state, there was a technical paperworking error that prevented Ohio from joining the state until it was number 47. Even though it's the 17th state, it's technically the 47th state because Congress forgot to vote for a formal resolution to admit Ohio into the Union, but finally did so on August 7th, 1953. In other words, you invited Ohio to the party and totally forgot that he was there.
Another preseason ranking outrage for Ohio State.
Oh, my God. Freaking Buckeyes are angry about this one. I told you Ryan Day wasn't the right. No, never mind. Happy birthday, kind of, to the first ever transistor radio. Today in 1955, the Tokyo, well, it's Kyoto. The Tokyo Telecommunications Engineering, which became Sony, sold its first transistor radio in Japan today in 1955. Today in 1959, the Lincoln Memorial design was put on the penny. The penny used to have stalks of wheat on it, believe it or not. They replaced the penny with Lincoln's profile from the Lincoln Memorial. And let me ask you this, in the world that is changing and evolving all around us, Sam, how do we still have the penny? How is the penny
not
still
obsolete?
in existence?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Take a penny, right? Leave a penny, take a penny. That's still at any. Is there a gas station in the world that still has that going around? Does anyone ever need the penny? In fact, I will say a lot of places, if you ever are paying with cash, which also nobody does,
right?
Most places
I still do. I'm still Johnny Cash over here.
But most places, like you're short even a few pennies. It's like, get out of here. I don't want to watch you fumble in your pocket for this. Just
by the way, Christopher, not a bet. He said the penny exists purely for fountains.
Not bad.
Maybe you might be right. You might be right.
Wish.
Let's see. Today in 1974, French-born Philippe Petit walked on a high wire in between what were the newly built twin towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. He crossed about 1,350 feet, 411 meters, because he was French, with no net, no nothing. He did it. He was up there for like an hour. I mean, he was just living his life. He laid down on the freaking wire. This is all captured in one of the most fabulous documentaries you'll ever see called Man on a Wire. If you've never seen Man on a Wire.
That's all I was going to add to the story. So yes, done.
See the movie, the next time you're saying, I want a good documentary, I've just watched this 6-hour Billy Joel thing. Honestly, it could have been 5 hours, but it was good. It was good. Man on a Wire is as good of a documentary as you'll ever watch in your life. It's so interesting. I think we've saved maybe the most significant for last.
Oh, yes.
There's only one thing I think about on August 7th. I will think about this happening on August. I will never not attach this to, I will never wake up, see that it's August 7th and not automatically think of this first. August 7th, 2007. Barry Bonds, 756. Today is the day that he broke the record by Hank Aaron. I was in the press box. I was there for all of it. KNBR actually sent me on the road to Los Angeles and San Diego, where Barry went 0 for home runs. and then he comes back and appropriately does it at, AT&T Park at the time. And it is, again, I would tell anyone that had ever listened or wanted to debate about who he was or what he meant to baseball, I would have just said this. Everyone hates Darth Vader until he's hitting cleanup in your lineup. And Barry Bonds was the single most compelling at-bat in the history of at-bats. That includes Shohei Ohtani, by the way.
It does. I was just going to say, there's one guy that I can say, and Barry wasn't trying to get on the mound and pitch, and that's just fine. What he did at the plate will never be topped.
Happy birthday to Michelle Haberman's mom. There you go. I'm glad we got that in for today in history. She deserves to be up there with our celebrity birthdays. I mean, God, that was such a moment. I mean, what are you going to do with the ball, and who's going to catch the ball, and what didn't like the Stussy guy buy it, or first it was Todd McFarlane, who I think got famous for
McFarlane always ends up with those things, at least for a moment.
Spider-Man thing. Who I'm surprised didn't end up with it? Geddy Lee of Rush. Apparently, Geddy Lee has written a book about baseball, not about music. Geddy Lee, outside of Cooperstown, has one of the single greatest baseball collections of memorabilia ever put together by a solo curator, apparently. Geddy Lee of Rush grew up going to Montreal Expos games or Toronto Blue Jays games, or one of them.
Love that.
And unbelievable. You loved Bonds or you hated him. There was no in between. You're right. He was a coin that only landed in one of two places.
But you watched. No matter what, you watched.
Hey, thank you to everyone who watched for joining us today. Awesome stuff. Sammy, thank you very much. Thanks to Ike's. Thanks to our friends at the Dubliner for sponsoring. But again, it is up to you, good viewer, to make these two channels sing. Give a like to Sammy over on his channel. Hit subscribe. Do it right here. We thank you so much. And remember, everyone, live stream, in-game 49ers Broncos starting at 5:30 West Coast Saturday. Be here on the Plus. Thanks to everyone for watching. And please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, there